This is Lorena Mora-Mowry for Mujer Latina Today. We have the pleasure to interview Richard Herman. Herman? How you say? Richard Herman?
Herman sounds good.
Okay.
Or as my friends say, Hermano.
Hermano, an immigration lawyer from Cleveland, Ohio, and he just won an award, Nuestra Familia, for the Ohio Latino Affairs Commission. Welcome to Mujer Latina Today.
Thank you, Lorena. I'm honored to be here. Thank you for calling.
Well, we are honored because you're helping our community. Let's talk about, you're in Cleveland.
Yes.
I'm in Cincinnati. But let's talk about the community because you just won an award about Nuestra Familia. So welcome to Nuestra Familia, abogado, hermano. Let's talk about the community, our community. Why it's important for you to help our community in that area, probably in all Ohio, but let's talk about Cleveland.
Right.
Let's talk about the Latinos in Cleveland.
Well, first of all, I'm honored to be part of the Latino community in Ohio. I do feel a sense of kindred spirits and familia. There's a great article that came out in the New York Times last week, and it talked about America being clothed, materialistic. It talked about Europe being dead and dying, and talked about Mexico being alive and growing. And I think that kind of symbolizes what I feel about Latin Americans. And there's a certain energy and sense of family and entrepreneurship and just spirituality. And so I feel drawn to the community, and I've been working in the community now in Cleveland over 18 years. And in Cleveland, our Hispanic community is very diverse. We have a large Puerto Rican community and a very fast-growing Mexican community, along with El Salvadorans, Guatemalans, Peruvians, Dominicans. Much like Columbus and Cincinnati, but it is growing. And tonight, as a matter of fact, we're hosting a big gathering here in Cleveland of Latino leaders and African American leaders and Asian leaders and European leaders as part of our planning for Convención Hispana. And I'm co-chairing with Jose Feliciano the immigration portion of that. And we thought, immigration, a lot of Americans think immigration is a Latino issue, and it certainly impacts the Latino community heavily. But it's also an Asian issue. It's a African issue. It's a European issue. It's an American issue. So we invited the top 100 leaders in Cleveland of African American and immigrant background to come and break bread with us tonight. So to me, this is about building the community, a global community. And for Ohio to progress in the global economy, we got to embrace the immigrant piece.
Embracing immigrants, embracing understanding, because Nuestra Familia, you have a familia that are very diverse. So each one have their own needs and each one have their own characteristics. So tell me about what you have learned working with the community. That you tell me that you're embracing, but what is unique about us? Because maybe we work very hard. The challenges that we face is they're different. Tell us a little bit about working with.
What I sense is an amazing resource in this community. I feel almost that America should be on its knees thanking the Latino community for coming to America and being here. And instead of that, I see just the opposite. I see a very negative reaction towards the recent immigration wave of Latin Americans. And to me, this is disturbing. It's disturbing on a humanitarian level. It's also disturbing on an economic level. I'll give you an example. Ohio, only 3% of our population is foreign-born. 3%. The national average is 13%. But here's the story. Cities that are much more immigrant-friendly are economically prosperous. And those cities have immigrant populations 20, 25% or more. And here's a good example. Compare Toronto to Cleveland. Okay? Toronto, 40 years ago, looked a lot like Cleveland, I'm told. It was a gray city, a Great Lakes city, cold, right? And trying to reinvent itself. Well, today, Toronto is a global city. It's a mecca. It's prosperous. They've got jobs. They've got growth. They have a housing problem. The housing problem is the values keep going up, up, up. In Cleveland, only 5% of the population is foreign-born. So, this is why my friend and I from the Plain Dealer, Bob Smith, we wrote a book a couple years ago called Immigrant Incorporated, Immigrant Inc. And we went around the country interviewing immigrant entrepreneurs, because we wanted to tell the story of Latinas and Latinos and Africans and Chinese and European immigrant entrepreneurs creating jobs. Because we're tired of the media image that immigrants are taking. Our message is immigrants are not the problem; they're part of the solution. And so that's the message that I try to give to the community and to everyone else. Be proud that you're part of a very powerful trend right now in America.
Let's talk about the award. When you
Yeah.
received the oh my gosh, because the first reaction, no soy Latino, but Nuestra Familia. Tell me
That's
about
right.
that.
Well, Lorena, I was so happy and so proud. I called my wife right away and told her the good news. But the Ohio Commission on Hispanic Latino Affairs obviously is at the vanguard, the leading forefront of helping to explain and push for immigrant rights and Latino rights in Ohio. And so I was honored to be included. I know many people on the board and in the organization who've been fighting for years for Latino rights. And to be included in that exclusive club means a lot to me. My wife was an undocumented immigrant for many years. And she became legal, not through me, but through her parents. And she became a physician. And to me, this is the promise of this country. This is the promise of Ohio. And we have to embrace our immigrant communities. One of the things I lament in Cleveland is we don't have enough Latino immigrants in Cleveland. And I even recommended to some of the leaders here that we actually start recruiting Latino immigrants to come to Cleveland, to live here.
Well, probably they say, probably you receive a lot of critics because of that.
Oh, I have. But I think, for us to be competitive and to rebuild this, we used to have 1 million people, Lorena, in Cleveland, a million. Now we're down to 392,000 people. This is a beautiful city. It's got great structure. It's got Lake Erie, natural resources, fresh air. It's a beautiful city. It was the Silicon Valley 100 years ago. So to me, I'm looking at other cities around the country that are saying, I want the immigrant advantage. So now we see Dayton, we see Detroit, we see St. Louis. Pittsburgh is now joining and saying, we want to welcome immigrants to help grow our economy. People to buy homes, start small businesses, raise their families here. This is the future of our state, and we got to embrace it.
Now, would you like to share a message for us, and especially because we're in the Hispanic Heritage Month?
Just one quick message. My daughter, when she was 5, and we were marching with Latino families on Father's Day in Painesville, and I dressed my daughter up in her traditional Chinese dress. Her mother's from Taiwan, and so my daughter says, "Why are we doing this, Daddy?" And I tried to explain to her, and she said, "Well, what's an immigrant?" I said, "I'm trying to think, how do I explain to a 5-year-old what an immigrant is?" And I said, "Honey, immigrants are heroes. They come here, there's no path sometimes, and they're coming here to sacrifice for their children and work hard, and we should be on our knees saying, thank you for coming." And
With
she
no
says, "Daddy,
family.
when I grow up, Daddy, I want to be an immigrant too." And so I think that's the message. I want us to feel proud of our immigrant heritage and celebrate it. I think this is how we create jobs in America. Immigrants are twice as likely to start a business than American-born. Twice as likely. So whether that's a bodega or Silicon Valley company. Half the companies in Silicon Valley were immigrant-founded. Google, PayPal, Yahoo.
Mujer Latina Today.
That's right. You're an entrepreneur. 40% of the Fortune 500 companies were started by an immigrant or a child of an immigrant, like Apple, McDonald's, Procter & Gamble, right? So this is really the secret of our success. Let's embrace it. And I want you to know, the undocumented are also starting businesses, left and right, okay? I've got clients that are undocumented immigrants who own $1 million businesses, okay? They can't even get on an airplane to negotiate contracts. They don't have a driver's license. This is ridiculous. Let's free these people. Let's create jobs in Ohio. 28% of all the startups in 2011, 28% were started by immigrants. Now, I just mentioned only 13% of the population is foreign-born, but they're creating almost 1/3 of our startups. And this is where jobs are coming from in this century. It's from startups. So, and 1/3 of the immigrants are undocumented. So many of them are creating jobs. So, our message is, Ohio, let's welcome the immigrants. Let's crank up our job creation, and let's go global together.
Well, Richard, thank you so much. Bienvenido a Nuestra Familia. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. you, Lorraine. You've already inspired me today. Take care.
Bye bye.